Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at the Castle of Perseverance, a medieval morality play from around 1400. It is ironic in a sense that the last major morality text that we are looking at in these sessions is the first extant one that survives. It has taken us a long time to get round to doing Castle of Perseverance. It's one of these big monolithic texts that is sitting there as an example for us all, but which is also very different from most other plays, even ones doing similar kinds of things to this, just simply because of its scale. It is a massive show, and unusually it also comes with a diagram of actually how potentially it could be staged. Which is, broadly speaking, there's a big circle, a bit of earthworks going on. There's potentially water in something of a moat motif, and in the centre of which there is a castle, the castle of the title. And I'll be feeding some additional details about this stage map later on. I'm not starting that with the room because it is as unhelpful as it is helpful, and I'd rather get a sense of what the room thinks the staging is going to be like based on the textual evidence, and see what they come up with. But broadly speaking, we have a massive space within which all these characters are going to be performing. There are special effects, there are 20 plus performers, and an audience potentially milling about, but potentially also having specific places where they might live. We are not certain. And yes, I say I will throw in hopefully some additional details. Otherwise, all we have are the words, mostly the text. It has been lightly modernised to give people a chance to sight read. There may be some errors in that as we go, but there will also be usual medieval artefacts which people may not immediately know the meaning of. Throw questions into the chat about any specific words, but hopefully the general meaning should be clear as we go. We have, before we start, we have the bands, effectively the advertising listing of what happens in the story to read, so we should get a handle on what the plot is before we actually start engaging with the text. But to engage with the text today, reading Voluptas and Ira is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I feel very typecast right now.
What, wrath and lust and liking? Reading Mundus
last week.
Yes, and next week as well. Reading Mundus and Gula, Gluttony is...
I'm Lois in London.
Reading A Good Angel and Invidia today is...
Briony, actor in Lincolnshire.
Reading The Personification of All Humanity is... You were already unmuted. You have just muted yourself.
Okay. Rachael Nicole, actor, New Jersey. I am literally every woman.
To is Humanum Genus. Reading Bad Angel and Superbia today is...
Hello, and I'm proud to say I'm Helen and I'm in Hull.
Reading the first Vexillator, Detraccio and Accidia is...
Hello, my name is Lynn. I'm a college writing teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading Belial and Avaricia today is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author based in Romford.
Reading second Vexillator and Stulticia today is...
Hi, Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
And reading Caro and Luxuria today is...
Hello, I'm Sarah, cozy in very cold Germany.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading what few stage directions there are. I may occasionally jump in if I have there's anything additional to throw in text-wise. But without further ado, we're going to go into the bands. So this is not necessarily part of the actual performance itself. This is more the advertising prior to the show. And there's lots of interesting details. There are occasional gaps in the text. Just sort of skip over them. They'll be fine. And let's just get a sense of where it's all going. Vexillator 1 and 2, take it away.
Glorious God, in all degrees, Lord most of might, that heaven and earth made of naught, both sea and land, The angels in heaven him to serve bright, and mankind in middle earth he made with his hand. And our lovely lady, the lantern of light, save our liege lord, the king, the leader of this land, and all the royal of his realm, and read him the right. And all the good commons of this town that before us stand in this place, we muster you with menship, and frame you with friendly friendship. Christ save you all from shenship, that known will our case.
The case of our coming you to declare, every man in himself the sooth he may it find, how mankind into this world born is full bare, and bare shall be buried at his last end. God him giveth to angels full yep and full year, the good angel and the bad to him for to lend. The good teacheth him goodness, the bad sin and sare. When t'one has the victory, t'other goeth behind by skill. The good angel coveteth evermore man's salvation, and the bad besetteth him ever to his damnation. And God hath man given free arbitration, whether he will himself save or his soul spill.
Built is man speciously when he to sin assent. The bad angel that bringeth him three enemies so stout, the world, the fiend, the foul flesh so jolly and gent, that laden him so full lustily with sins all about. Pith with pride and covetise, to the world is he went. To maintains his manhood, all men to him lout. After ire and envy, the fiend hath him lent, backbiting and inditing with all men for to rout, full even. But the foul flesh, homeliest of all, sloth, lust, and lechery, gun him to call. Gluttony and other sins, both great and small, thus man's soul is soiled with sins more than 7.
When man's soul is soiled with sin and with sore, then the good angel maketh mickle mourning, that the lofty likeness of God should be law through the bad angel's false enticing. He sendeth to him conscience, pricked full poor, and clear confession with penance doing. They moven man to mendment that he misdeed before. Thus they call on him to cleanness and to good living, without and distance, meekness, patience, and charity, soberness, busyness, and chastity, and largety, virtues of good degree, man calleth to the castle of good perseverance.
The castle of perseverance, when mankind hath ta'en, well armed with virtues, and overcome all vices, there the good angel maketh full merry then, that mankind hath overcome his ghostly enemies. The bad angel mourneth that he hath missed man. He calleth the world, the fiend, and the foul flesh, Iwis, and all the 7 sins that do that they can to bring mankind again to bail out of bliss with wrong. Pride assaileth meekness with all his might. Ire against patience, full fast gan he fight. Envy against charity striveth full right. But covetise against largety fighteth overlong.
Covetise mankind ever coveteth for to quell. He gathereth to him gluttony against soberness. Lechery with chastity lighteth full fell, and sloth in God's service against busyness. Thus vices against virtues fight in full snell. Every busketh to bring man to distress, but penance and confession with mankind will mell. The vices are full likely the virtues to oppress, sound out. Thus in the castle of good perseverance, mankind is masked with mickle variance. The good angel and the bad be ever at distance. The good holdeth him in, the bad would bring him out.
Out of good perseverance when mankind will not come, at the bad angel with covetise him gan assail. findeth him in poverty and penance so benome, that bringeth him in believe in default to fail. Then he proffereth him good and gold so great a sum, that if he will come again and with the world dally, the bad angel to the world tolleth him down the castle of perseverance to flee for the bale and bliss. Then the world beginneth him to restore. Have he never so mickle, yet would have more. Thus the bad angel leareth him his lore. The more a man aggeth, the harder he is.
Hard a man is in age and covetousness be kind, when all other sins man hath forsake. Ever the more that he hath, the more is in his mind, together and to get good with woe and with rake. Thus the good angel is cast behind, and the bad angel man to him taketh, that wringeth him wretches to his last end, till death cometh full dolefully, and lodgeth him in a lake full low. Then is man on mould masked in mind, he sendeth after his executors, full fickle to find, and his heir afterward cometh ever behind. I wot not who is his name, for he him nought know.
Man know not who shall be his heir and govern his good. He careth more for his castle than for his cursed sin. To put his good in governance, he mendeth his mood. He would that it were shifted amongst his nigh kin. But there shall come a lither lad with a torn hood, I wot never who shall be his name, his clothes be full thin, shall earneth the heritage that never was of his blood, when all his life is lighted upon a little pin at the last. On live when he may no longer lend, mercy he calleth at his last end. Mercy, God, be now mine friend, with that man's spirit is past.
When man's spirit is past, the bad angel full fell, claimeth that for covetise man's soul should be his, and for to bear it full boisterously with him into hell, the good angel saith, Nay, the spirit shall to bliss, for his last end of mercy he can spell, and therefore of mercy shall he naught miss. And our lovely lady, if she will for him mell, by mercy and means in purgatory he is, in full bitter place. That mother's confession and his heart's contrition shall save man from damnation by God's mercy and grace.
Grace, if God will grant us of his mickle might, these parcels in properties we purpose us to play. This day 7 night before you in sight. On the green in royal array, ye haste then thitherward, sirs, handly in height, all good neighbours full specially we you pray, and look that ye be there betime, lovely and light, for we shall be onward by undern of the day. Dear friends, we thank you of all good dalliance, and of all your special sportance, and pray you of good continuance to our lives' end.
As our lives we love you, thus taken our leave, ye manly men of Lavenham, their Christ save you all. He maintain your mirths and keep you for grieve, that born was of Mary mild in an ox stall. Now buried be all Lavenham, and well mote ye chieve, all our faithful friends, their fair mote ye fall. Yea, and welcome ye be, when ye come Christ for to prove, and worthy to be worshipped in bower and in hall, and in every place. Farewell, fair friends, that lofty will listen and lends. Christ keep you for fiends, trump up and let us pace.
And thus ends the introductory bands. So going around a week or so in advance of the actual show itself to draw out trade and interest, Alan was adding in a location there, but the script does not give us a location. So it's an interesting question as to whether this script is being passed about with deliberate gaps put in place so that you can adjust it for your local use, or whether there's the possibility that it actually went on tour, presumably with some tractors to dig up appropriate spaces. So it's a morality play in the sense that mankind will be tempted towards sin. Humanity will be will be hopefully kept within the walls of the Castle of Perseverance, but will be tempted out by sin at least twice. And then at his death, hopefully will be redeemed by Our Lady's grace. So it's a relatively straightforward story. You'll have seen it elsewhere in other morality plays as well, and we will exercise that in a moment. Any initial thoughts? This again is a sort of extra material. This isn't necessarily exciting dramatic material that you'd use in a show, because it's basically, this is the advert. This is the trailer. And presumably they've got trumpets. Trump up to announce that this plot. So you know what you're coming to see. Any questions or thoughts from the room?
Yeah, I
Alan.
hope it didn't throw you by putting the place name in. It just seemed sensible that that's the way it would work.
No, very happy with that. I've just made sure the audience at home knew that that's actually, these plays are associated with East Anglia, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to claim that it was performed in Lavenham.
If a place is in need of salvation, Lavenham was probably a fair candidate.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any thoughts, Eric?
As far as introductions go, like to plays and stuff, it feels quite wordy compared to other plays that we've had.
Yeah, but it's not part of the show. I mean, that's the advantage. It's a little mini event in its own right, standing on the street, telling people the plot. And also, people you can't distribute playbills or anything, because such a small percentage of the population could read. So you've got to tell them sell the show.
Yeah, do you suppose they had any sort of mime acting out some of this to make it livelier? It just strikes me that's probably what one would do nowadays. Get a couple of other people there acting it out.
We in modern times, I know that some of the bands for some of the mystery cycles have been performed in a sort of style where they get the waits out to trump up and play some music, and then they just have effectively a town crier reading the plot out. And it might be that this gets sent ahead to some official person to just read out the plot. I mean, it's like reading the bands in church in that sense. So what the location, where is this designed to be said? It might be, who knows where it's actually being read out. Briony.
Just considering that it's almost like advertising, just the meter of it and how it reads was what caught me the most about it. It was very almost like a song. I don't know. Yeah, just I can imagine that would be quite attention grabbing.
Anyway, we can't linger here too long. Eric, very briefly, and then we will go into the play itself.
Yeah, I was just going to say, trying to imagine this at the happening at the Edinburgh Fringe, trying to yell out all this stuff at the highest possible volume to get people going. I can imagine that working sort of.
You've not tried to do that at the Edinburgh Fringe, I have.
I've been on the receiving end.
Yeah, to keep going this long. But that's another story. So this is a big arena, and so we don't have really any entrances and exits, and that's because most of these characters seem to have a place where they live somewhere around this circular space. So at no point does anyone really go away, but they go to different areas. So that's all the information I'm going to give you at this time. But the play opens with various speeches by various characters. We will start with Mundus, the world from one part of the space speaks.
Worthy wits in all this world wide, by wild wood wonus and every way went, precious prince preaked in pride, through this proper plain place in peace be ye bent. Busk you, bold bachelors, under my banner to abide, where bright basnets be battered and backs are shent. Ye, sirs, seemly all same sitteth on side, for both by sea and by land my sons I have sent. All the world mine name is meant. All abouten my bane is blow, in every coast I am know. I do men rowen on rich row, till they be dithe to death's dent. Assery, Achae, and Almain, Cavados, Cappados, and Canani, Babylon, Brabon, Burgoyne, and Brittany, Greece, Gals, and all to the Greekish sea. I move also Macedon in my mickle main, France, Flanders, and Friesland, and also Normandy, Pinscras, Paris, and long Pigmain, and every town in Trague, even to the Dray Tree. Rhodes and rich Rome, all these lands at mine advise are casten to my worldly wise. My treasurer, Sir Covetise, hath seized him wholly to me. Therefore my game and my glee grow full glad. There is no wight in this world that my wit will me warn. Every rich reign wrappeth him full rad in lusts and in likings my laws to learn. With fair folk in the field freshly I am fed. I dance down as a doe by dales full dairn. What boy bideth battle or debateth with blade, him were better to be hangen high in hell hern, or brent on like leven. Whoso speaketh against the world, in a prison he shall be speared. Mine hest is holden and heard unto high heaven.
Now I sit, Satanus, in my sad sin, as devil doty in draught as a drake. I champ and I chafe, I chalk on my chin. I am boisterous and bold as Belial the black. What folk that I grope, they gapen and gren. Iwis throw Carlisle into Kent, my carping they take. Both the back and the buttock breasteth all on bren. With works of wretch I work him mickle rake. In woo is all my wen. In care I am cloy, and foul I am annoyed. But mankind be stroyed. But dykes and by den, pride is my prince in pearls ipith. Wrath this wretch with me shall war. Envy into war with me shall walken with. With these Freitas I am fed, in faith I am for. As a ding-knee devil, in my dean I am dight. Pride, wrath, and envy, I say in my sore. Kings, Kaisers, and Kemps, and many a keen knight. These lovely lords han learned him my law. To my dean they will draw. All holy mankins, to hell but I win. In bale is my bin, and shent under shore. On mankind is my trust, in country I know. With my tire and with my tail tightly to team. Through Flanders and Friesland fast I can flow. Fell folk on a flock, to flappen and to fleen. Where I grasp on the ground, grim there shall grow. Gather you together, ye boys, on this green. In this broad bugle a blast when I blow. All this world shall be wood, iwis as I ween, and to my bidding bend, wisly on side, on bench will I bide, to teem this tide, all holy mankind.
I bide as a broad breast and gut aboven on these towers. Everybody is the better that to mine bidding is bent. I am mankind's fair flesh, flautured in flowers. My life is with lusts and liking elent. With tapestries of taffeta I timber my towers. In mirth and in melody my mend is imment. Though I be clay and clad, clapped under clowers, yet would I that my will in the world went. Full true are you behind. I love well mine ease, in lusts me to please, though sin my soul cease, I give not a mite. In gluttony gracious now am I grow, therefore he sitteth seemly here by my side. In lechery and liking lent am I low, and sloth, my sweet son, is bent to abide. These three are noble, truly I trow, mankind to tenon and treachen a tide. With many birds in bower my blasts are blow, by ways and by woods, through this world wide, these sooth for to say. But if man's flesh fare well, both at meat and at mell, dive I am in great dell, and brought into pain. And after good fare, in faith though I fell, though I drive to dust in dross for to dreep, though my seely soul were harried to hell, whoso will do these works, ewis he shall weep ever without an end. Behold the world, the devil, and me. With all our mights we kings three, night and day busy we be, for to destroy mankind, if that we may. Therefore on hill sitteth all still, and seeth with good will our rich array.
Okay, we're not going to pause here, but I'll just point out that, yes, we've got three, shall we say, evil people from their separate, perhaps, positions about the place, making their boast about who they are. We have Flesh talking about the various sins on their side, so introducing other characters even though they're making the speech. And I'll just mention about the Satan here. He that shall play a Belial, look that he have gunpowder burning in pipes in his hands and in his ears and in his arse when he goeth to battle. So, Elizabeth, you are piped up for later on, so that you can bring forth a lot of smoke.
I have incense sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. Not yet. I think you're just sitting in state at the moment, lording it over everybody. But yeah, we have the world, we have Satan, we've got the pleasures of the flesh, have all sort of introduced themselves and are potentially quite spaced out around the space. So the audience is potentially doesn't quite know where to look next. But we're not going to pause any longer. I'll come to thoughts in a moment. I just want to get an introduction to all of humanity. Humanum, Genus, and also good and bad angels are going to be speaking. So let's find out what's going on with humanity.
After our form fathers kenned, this night I was of my mother born. From my mother I walk, I wend, full faint and feeble I fare you beforn. I am naked of limb and lend, as mankind is shapen and shorn. I not whether to go, nay to lend, to help myself midday, neen morn. For shame I stand and shend. I was born this night in bloody blee, and naked I am, as ye may see. A Lord God in Trinity, how mankind is unthinned. Whereto I was to this world brought, I nay wot, but to woe and weeping I am born, and have right not to help myself in no doing. I stand and stoddy, all full of thoth. Bare and poor is my clothing. A seely chrismy mine head hath caught, that I took at mine christening. Certes I have no more. Of earth I came, I wot right well, and as earth I stand, this cell of mankind it is great. Of mankind it is great dell. Lord God, I cry thine o'er. My angels been assigned to me. The one teacheth me to good. On my right side ye may him see. He came fro Christ that died on road. Another is ordained here to be, that is my foe, by fen and flood. He is about in every degree to draw me to those devils woed that in hell be thick. Such too hath every man on live to rule him and his wits five. When men doth evil, the twone would shrive, the t'other draweth to wick. But sin these angels to be to me fall. Lord Jesu, to you I bid a boon that I may follow by street and stall the angel that came fro heaven throne. Now, Lord Jesu in heaven hall, here when I make my moan, Curios Christ, to you I call, as a grisly ghost I grutch and groan. I ween, right full of thought, ah, Lord Jesu, whither may I go? A chrisime I have and no mo. Alas, men may be wander woe when they be first forth brought.
Yea, forsooth, and that is well seen. Of woeful woe man may sing, for each creature helpeth himself bedeen, save only man at his coming. Nevertheless, turn thee fro teen, and serve Jesu, heaven king. And thou shalt by groves green fare well in all thing that Lord thy life hath lent. Have him alway in thy mind that died on road for mankind, and serve him to thy life's end, and certes thou shalt not want.
Peace, angel, thy words are not wise. Thou counsellest him not aright. He shall him drawn to the world's service to dwell with Caesar, knight, king and knight. That in land by him none lich. Come on with me, still as stone. Thou and I to the world shall gone. Then thou shalt see anon how soon thou shalt be rich.
Ah, peace, angel, thou speakest folly. Why should he covet world's good? Sin Christ in earth and his many all povert, here they stood. World's will by street and sty faileth and fadeth as fish in flood, but heaven rich is good and try, there Christ sitteth bright as blood, withouten any distress. To the world would he not flit, but forsook it every whit. Example I find in Holy Writ, he will bear me witness. Divisius et paupertates ni dederis mihi domine.
Yeah, man, leave him naught, but come with me by sty and street. Have thou a gobbet of the world court, thou shalt find it good and sweet. A fair lady thee shall be taught, that in bower thy bale shall beat. With rich rents thou shalt be fraught, with silk sendal to sitten in seat. I read, let beddies be, if thou wilt have thine heel, and fare and well at meat and mell, with God's service may thou not dell, but come and follow me.
Whom to follow witten I ne may. I stand and study and gin to rave. I would be rich in great array, and fain I would my soul save. As wind in water I wave. Thou wouldst to the world I me took, and he would that I it forsook. Now so God me help in the holy book, I not which I may have.
Come on, man, wherefore hast thou care? Go we to the world, I rede thee blithe, for there thou shalt mow right well fare, in case if thou think for to thrive. No lord shall be thee licht to take the world to thine intent, and let thy love be thereon lent with gold and silver and rich rent, anon thou shalt be rich.
Now, sin, thou hast behitten me so. I will go with thee, and assay, I nay let for friend nor foe, but with the world I will go play, certes a little throw. In this world is all my trust, to liven in liking and in lust. Have he and I once cussed, We shall not part, I trow.
Ah, nay, man, for Christ's blood, come again by street and stile. The world is wicked and full wood, and thou shalt liven but a while. What covetest thou to win? Man, think on thine ending day, when thou shalt be closed under clay, and if thou think of that array, certes thou shalt not sin.
Oh, yes, you can skip that bit of Latin. Carry on. Bad angel.
Yarn thy soul, thou shalt think all betime. Come forth, man, and take none heed. Come on, and thou shalt holden him in. Thy flesh thou shalt foster and feed with lovely life's food. With the world thou mayst be bold, till thou be 60 winter old, when thy nose wax it cold. Then mayst thou draw to good.
I vow to God, and so I may, make merry a full great throw. I may liven many a day, I am but young, as I trow, for to do that I should. Might I ride by swamp and syke, and be rich and lord-like, certes then should I be frike, and a merry man on mould.
Yes, by my faith thou shalt be a lord, or else hang me by the heels. But thou must be at mine accord. Otherwhile thou must be false among kith and kin. Now shall we go forth swith anon, to the world us must be gone, and bear thee manly ever among, when thou comest out or in.
Yes, and else have thou my neck, but I be manly by down and ditch, and though I be false, I nay wreck, with so that I be lordlich, I follow thee as I can. Thou shalt be my bode of bale, for were I rich of halt and hale, then would I give never tale of God, nay, of good man.
I wail and ring and make moan, this man with woe shall be pilt. I sigh sore and grisly groan, for his folly shall make him spilt. I not whither to gone, mankind hath forsaken me. Alas, man, for the love of thee, yea, for this gammon and this glee, thou shalt groachen and groan.
And music pipes up, and there we'll pause. So we have a bit of a battle between good and bad angel, as whispering sweet nothings in humanity's ear. Looks like, Helen, you put forward a good case.
Yeah, it would be even better if I could actually understand some of the words I was saying. I'm not used to not understanding the words. A glossary would be helpful.
Yes, and absolutely, that's
to the reader.
Something that to the reader, but also rehearsal, and those things, and to a degree, the information that each stanza is delivering is a sort of a unit, and there's that sense of it's delivering the same data each time. But we are hopefully getting across the general gist. That is all I'm really expecting out of this level of sessioning, and I'm finding Bad Angel's very compelling. Good Angel, quite sad. Good Angel there at the end. They're just not listening to you, Lois.
Yeah. I thought Humanum Genus's first speech was really very touching. This sense of the soul arriving in the world with nothing, and the fact that he's going to end up with nothing as well, and in fact, the good angel says that all other animals are born with some sort of idea. They're much further along intellectually than the human race. I don't know. I just found that whole thing, the sense of complete bewilderment, pathos, really quite effective.
And we've got this child. It's basically it's a child in with their christening robe still on them, stumbling forward. And Eric will be very familiar with this because he's done something similar in the much smaller scale Mundus et Infants, a morality play from about 100 years later. which basically does exactly the same as this play, but just with 2 to 3 people rather than 20 to 30. So you can scale this story down as well as up. I was wondering, Eric, if you're getting sense of deja vu all over again.
Yes. The trauma. No, wait. Yeah, it's very sort of what's it called? Yeah, humanity getting sort of getting carried away by the promises of bad angels and sort of sinful characters is quite familiar.
Mm.
Yeah. Especially from Mundus at Infants.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Alan?
God help anyone who's got a speech impediment with all the alliteration. I mean, there's some incredibly elaborate alliterative setups in there to make it work. I mean, it does give it a lovely rhythm and feel, but by God, it'd be a bugger to learn.
Oh, but no, I would argue it's the other way around. Those kind of effects, there might be some initial resistance. I think the thing is that we have an initial resistance here, just simply because we haven't tuned into the flow of it all yet, and we're just starting to get a bit of head of steam up. Lois, then Lynn.
Yeah, these stanzas are in this weird form. I think they call that bit at the end the bob and wheel or something. You get these very short lines and then a kind of refrain. I've always wondered about this, whether it was some sort of device to make it easier to learn, or maybe if, most of the people who learned these lines were probably illiterate, did it help them know when they were getting to the end of their bit so that the next speaker knew when their cue was? I don't know. It's just, you get it in I think it's what you get in Sir Gawain as well. I mean, in some just straight poetry, but it's always puzzled me as a form for drama because it's so obviously artificial, but there must be some point to it.
Yes, in the sense that by and large this kind of drama is about making a series of speeches, so you can actually know what your cue is by maths. If necessary, because generally it tends to move in quite a schematic way, and you know how long everybody's stanzas tend to be for a section, and you know how long it is since the last person spoke, so you don't even need to actually know what your cue line is necessarily. Lynn, then Sarah.
Yeah, basically I was going to say that both the alliteration and the verse form are probably mnemonics. They're probably mnemonic devices that before the Norman Conquest, the organizing principle of Old English poetry was alliteration, that you had a certain number of words that began with the same letter in a line, and that kind of helped you remember what the line was. It's like, oh, this is the B line, or this is the P line, or this is the vowel line. So because English is a rhyme poor language, unlike descendants of Latin, alliteration is what makes poetry poetry, and it supposedly helps the speaker remember the rest of the line once they've started. And I'm sure the verse form is also a mnemonic aid.
Sarah, then Eric, and then we'll move on.
I wonder as well if the verse structure is an aid to the audience as well. Like if you think about this being performed outside to a large crowd, big long speeches, once they start to taper and the rhythm picks up, you get it. I mean, yeah, it's an aid to the performers as well, but it's also like almost a cue for the audience, like they know that the character's wrapping up, so to speak. So if they're going to, I don't know, pop out for a piss or something, or go and get another beer, or go and find their kid that's wandered off, they'll maybe wait to the end of oh, okay, I'll just wait because they're clearly ending now, and then they go. I don't know, just it's a definite verbal signal, but I'm wondering if it's as much for the audience as for the other performers.
Eric.
I was going to say that it reminded me a bit of like sort of a dance battle like a sort of break dance battle where you've got like sort of one person who might have 8 beats to sort of showcase their talents, and the other person will have 8 beats as well, and sort of that kind of dynamic going on.
Definitely for that first bit with the world and Satan, etc., because they are making their boast. They are literally they're saying how great they are, so and the fact that they're following in sequence around from slightly different areas, it does have a sort of quality to that. Yeah, I like that. Anyway, humanity's been led to the dark side. And is going to approach the world. We can assume perhaps where the world is, or the world is going to approach to where mankind is. We shall see where the flow of movement is. We have again this big circular space, and people are presumably in different corners of the compass points, but precisely how it all functions is up for grabs. Anyway, the world is currently still on their particular scaffold, doing whatever they do.
Now I sit in my seemly sail, I trot and tremble in my true throne. As a hawk I hop in my hend hail, king, knight, and kaiser to me maken moan. Of God, nay, of good man, give I never tale. As a liking lord, I lake here alone. Whoso brawl any boast by down or by dale, those gadlings shall be gasted and grisly grown, wis. Lust, folly, and vainglory, all these are in my memory. Thus beginneth the noble story of this world's bliss. Lust, liking, and folly, comely knights of renown, belive through this land do cry all abouten in tower and town. If any man be far or nigh that to my service will busk him bound, if he will be trust and try, he shall be king and wear the crown with richest robes in race. Whoso to the world will draw, of God, nay, of good man, giveth he not a haw. Such a man by land's law shall sitten on my days.
Oh, me here ready, lord, to fern and to flee, to seek in thee a servant, dingeon dear. Whoso will with folly turn that ruled be, he is worthy to be a servant here, that draweth to sin 7. Whoso will be false and covetous with this world, he shall have land and house. This world's wisdom giveth not a house of God, and of high heaven.
And he then descends to the place. Voluptas goes down amongst the people, presumably.
Peace, people of peace, will you pray? Sith and see the well to my sore. Whoso will be rich and in great array toward the world he shall draw. Whoso will be false all that he may, of God himself he hath none awe. And living in lusts night and day, the world of him will be right for, to do well in his house, do dwell in his house. Whoso will with the world have his dwelling and be a lord of his clothing, he must needs over all thing evermore be covetous.
And just carry straight on.
Yeah. Non est in mundo dives qui dicit habundo.
Our covetously must be, and me folly must have in mend. For whoso will always folly flee in this world shall be unthend. So through world's wisdom of great degree shall never man in world moan wind, but he have help of me, that I am folly fair and end. He must hang on my hook. Worthy wit was never naught, but with folly it were fraught. Thus the wise man hath taught, but in his book, Sapienza Penes Domine.
Now all the men that in this world would thrive, for to ride on horse full high, come speak with lust and liking Belial and his fellow young folly. Let's see whoso will us know, whoso will draw to liking and lust, and as a fool in folly rust on us till he may trust, and live in lovely, I trow.
How lust liking and folly, take to me good intent. I have brought by downers dry to the world a great present. I have gild him full quietly, for sin he was born. I have him blent. He shall be servant good and try. Among you his will is lent, to the world he will him take. For sin he could wit, I understand. I have him ticed in every land. His good angel by street and strand, I have done him forsake. Therefore, lust, my true frere, thou art ready always, he wis, of worldly laws thou him lear, though he were brought in worldly bliss. Look he be rich, thee sooth to tell, help him, fast he gin to thrive, and when he wenneth best to live, then shall he die and not be shrive, and go with us to hell.
By Satan, thou art a noble knave, to teach in men first for good. Lust and liking he shall have, lechery shall be his food, meats and drinks he shall have. Try he with a liking lady of lust, he shall sit in sandal soft, to catch in him to hellcroft, that day that he shall die.
With rich rents I shall him bind with the world till he be pit, and then shall I, long or his end, make that caitiff to be knit on the world when he is set sore. Come on, man, thou shalt not rue, for thou wilt to us be to us true. Thou shalt be clad in clothes new, and be rich evermore.
Humanity, you've been scooped up. Marry fellow Gramercy. Just before Trump up.
It just disappeared.
Okay, so Bad Angel, Voluptas, Stulticia have all come together with humanity to collect him. Going to in a moment go and visit Mundus. So yeah, they're down in the place. They've found humanity. Bad Angel, you've got this great person, or humanity here to bring in. You've done well. You've done well.
He's ready for plucking.
Take him to the world. I'm sure the world will teach him all sorts of fun tricks.
And the essence is that we don't let him confess before he dies.
Oh no, you don't want that to happen. That'd be awful. That's a waste of your investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you with us, Rachael?
Yes.
Excellent. Sorry, Elizabeth,
Okay.
you were saying something.
Yeah, I was just saying, is it me or is there a really tremendous flow to the language of the speeches now? Because at the beginning, I think in the band, it was a little bit awkward and it was finding its feet, but now it's really kind of going.
It may be the readers have got their ear in.
I think it's also that the bands are a fundamentally different text. You know, they're a separate thing to the actual show itself. So yeah, this feels much more performy, in a much less awkward way.
I got a sense of like town criers kind of going, hear ye with their bells.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's how the bands work.
Yeah.
And it's aimed at the general population, whereas this is aimed at actors who probably know what's coming.
Because they heard the bands. You know, they've been given a slightly didactic exposition of what's going to happen. Oh yeah, I fancy that. What's on this week? Oh, the God Show. Excellent. We'll go and see that. What's on next week? God Show. It wasn't. There was secular stuff as well. It just doesn't survive. Anyway, Humanum, Genus. You're going to go to the world.
Marry fellow Gramercy, I would be rich and of great renown. Of God I give no tale truly, so that I be lord of tower and town. By busks and banks brown, sin that thou wilt make me, both rich of gold and fee, go forth, for I will follow thee by dale and every town.
trump up some music, and Voluptas, Stulticia, Bad Angel, and Humanum Genus go to the world who announced earlier that all the fabulous prizes you could win. So let's find out whether that's going to go well.
Our Lord, look out, for we have brought a servant of noble fame. Of worldly good is all his thought, of lust and folly he hath no shame. He would be great of name, he would be at great honour for to rule town and tower. He would have to his paramour some lovely ding dame.
Oh, welcome, sir, seemly in sight. Thou art welcome to worthy weed, for thou wilt be my servant day and night. With my service I shall thee foster and feed. Thy back shall be beaten with bousance bright. Thou shalt have biggins by banks breed. To thy course shall kneel Kaiser and knight, where that thou walk by sty or by street. And ladies, lovely on leer. But God's service thou must forsake, and wholly to the world thee take. And then a man I shall thee make, that none shall be thy peer.
Yes, world, and thereto hear mine hand, to forsake God in his service. To meads thou give me house and land, that I reign richly at mine emprise. So that I fare well by street and strand, well I dwell here in worldly wise. I rake never of heaven wand, nor of Jesu, that gentle justice. Of my soul I have none ruth. What should I reckon in of doomsday, so that I be rich and of great array? I shall make merry well I may, and thereto hear my truth.
Now, certes, sir, thou sayest well. I hold thee true from top to the toe. But thou wert rich, it were great deal, and all men that will fare so. Come up, my servant, true as steel.
And Humanum Genus joins Mundus on Mundus's scaffold, which is to the west of the circle. To the west of the circle is where we keep the world.
And death. Thou shalt be rich wheresoe'er thou go. Men shall serve thee at meal with minstrelsy, and beams blow, with meats and drinks try. Lust and liking shall be thine ease. Lovely ladies thee shall please. Whoso do thee any disease, he shall be hanging high. Liking, Belial let clothe him swathe in robes rive with rich array. A folly, thou fond, be by street and strawn, serve him at hand both night and day.
Trustly Lord, ready, je vous prie. Sir, I say, in liking and lust he shall rust till death's dust do him today.
Aye, folly shall hine him high, till some enemy him overgo. In world's wit, that in folly sit, I think yet his soul to slow.
More music before Detraccio and various other additional people start speaking.
All things I cry again the peace. To knight and knave, this is my kend. Yea, digne dukes on her dace. In bitter bales I him bind. Crying and care, chiding and chase, and sad sorrow to him I send. Yea, loud lessings latched in mace. Of tales untrue is all my mend. Man's bane abouten I bear, I will that he witten, although that be here, for I am known far and near. I am the world's messenger. My name is Backbiter. With every wit I walk and wend, and every man now loveth me well. With loud lacings underlend, to death's dint I dress and delve. To speak fair be foreign, and foul behind, amongst men at meat and mel. Truly, lords, this is my kind. Thus I run upon a wheel. I am feller than a fox. Flettering and flattering is my lesson. With lessings I tend both tour and town. With letters of defamation I bear here in my box. I am light of fleet through every land. Mine holy haps may not be hid. To may not together stand, but I, backbiter, be the thread. I scape young boys to shame and shond all that will bowen when I him bid. To law of land in faith I found, when tales untrue are betid. Backbiter is wide sprung. Through the world, by down and dales all abouten, I brew bales. Every man telleth tales after my false tongue. Therefore I am made messenger to overlands lay, through all the world far and near, unsayed saws for to say. In this hope I hunt here, for to spy privy play. When mankind is clothed clear, then shall I teach him the way to the deadly sins 7. Here I shall abiden with my peace, the wrong to do him for to choose. For I think that he shall lose the light of heaven.
Worthy world in wealth's wand, here is mankind full fair and fold. In bright besance he is bound, and bond to bow to you so bold. He liveth in lusts every stound, wholly to you he hath him yold. For to maken him gay on ground, worthy world thou art behold. This world is well at ease, for to God I make a vow. Mankind a lever now, grieve God with sin's row, and then the world to displease.
Displease thee he will for no man. On me folly is all his thought. Truly mankind naught then can think on God that hath him bought. Worthy world, with as swan in thy love layly as he is laught. Sithen he could and first began, thee forsaken would be naught. But give him to folly, and sithen he hath to thee be true, I read thee forsaken him for no new. Let us pleasen him till that he nay rue, in hell to hang on high.
Now folly fare thee befall, and lust blessed be thou aye. Ye have brought mankind to mine hall, certes in a noble array. With world's wealth within these wall, I shall him fief if that I may. Welcome, mankind. To thee I call, cleaner clothed than any clay by down, dale, and ditch. Mankind, I read that thou rest with me the world as it is best. Look thou hold mine hand a hest, and ever thou shalt be rich.
Who shall I but I thy hests held? Thou workest with me wholly my will. Thou fiefest me with fen and field, and high hall by holtz and hill. In worldly well my wit I wield, in joy I jet with jewels gentle. On blissful bank my bower is build, in vain glory I stand still. I am ken as a knight, whoso again the world will speak, mankind shall on him be wreak. In strong prison I shall him steek, be it wrong or right.
Ah, mankind, well thee betide, that thy love on me is set. In my bowers thou shalt abide, and yet fare mickle thee bet. I fief thee in all my wone is wide, in dale of dross till thou be death. I make thee lord of mickle pride, sir, at thine own mouth's met. I find in thee no treason. In all this world, by sea and sand, parks, places, lawn and land, here I give thee with mine hand, sir, an open season. Go to my treasurer, Sir Covetous. Look thou tell him, as I say, bid him make thee master in his house, with pennies and pounds for to play. Look thou give not a louse of the day that thou shalt die. Messenger, do now thine use. Backbiter, teach him the way. Thou art sweeter than mead. Mankind, take with thee backbiting, leave him for no manner thing. Flibberty-gibbet, with his flattering, stand with mankind instead.
Backbiting and detraction shall go with thee fro town to town. Have done, mankind, and come down. I am thine own page. I shall bear thee witness with my might, when my lord the world it behight. Lo, where Sir Covetes sit, and bideth us in his stage.
Sir World, I wend, and covetous to chase my kend.
Have him in mend, and awis then shalt thou be right then.
So there's an interesting sort of con going on here, which is what I quite like to think about this, is that, you've got your mark, humanity, and all the bad people are working together to, just here's some lovely things. Here are some more lovely things. We'll get you some more lovely things. We'll need to go to the treasurer, Covetousness. That'll be, he's over there on the northeast. There's a fifth point to this compass. And there's a northeast scaffold where they keep covetous for some reason. Otherwise, everyone else is kept at compass points. But maybe other people have little cubby holes somewhere else around the place. So yeah, it's that sense of all these various people working together to the same ends. The vices aren't sort of attacking each other. We haven't got that kind of interplay. But this play, if you're shouting from a great distance, doing comedy, that kind of back and forth comedy is quite difficult to do. And I think that's the thing, is that so much of this is to be projected. It's to be bellowed. You can't do the kind of in-depth stuff that other plays in a small room can do. Thoughts about these reprobates? They're leading him by the nose, aren't they? It's all going to go. I'm sure it's going to go well. I'm sure it'll be fine. He'll repent at the end, I'm sure. Helen.
They're doing him well, though. I mean, he's getting land, he's getting women, he's getting good things to eat. He's getting the medieval high life.
Yeah, Briony.
It's not been very balanced either just yet. I wonder what the good angel's been up to whilst all these bad boys have been tempting.
I think a lot of emails have flown at the moment. Good,
strongly worded letters.
Yeah, some people are just not in the office. I think that the good will arrive. The good will arrive. They will strategize. But you're right. They're a bit slow on the upkeep here. They know about this problem. I'd have thought they'd have a system in place. But budget cuts maybe. I don't know. But it's a good point, Elizabeth.
Hey Rob, I liked the introduction of Detraccio because we hadn't seen him yet, but he came in and he introduced himself in a very sharp and subtle way, and I just thought it was a very compelling character to come in late, and it really added quite a lot to the melee that we have going on.
There's a lot of people doing similar jobs. They're overlapping, but they're distinct. I mean, the backbiter figure does feel much more like a vice that we know from later interludes. It feels like there's going to be more to come from backbiter. Lois, then Lynn.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was going to say. I mean, you can sort of see where everybody else fits in, the world, the flesh, and the devil, and then each has its own particular vices under it and so on. But backbiting is a totally different thing. I mean, this seems to be something that the author or authors want to get at specially. It seems incredibly relevant as well. I mean, he seems to be somebody you could easily make look modern.
Lynn.
Yeah, Detraccio I got the feeling like Lois, although for different reasons. It's sort of one of these things. It's not like the others. The other tempters seem to be offering worldly pleasures, wealth, and beautiful clothes, and stuff like that. It's like and detraction is like nasty gossip. Like, is that actually being figured as kind of a worldly pleasure? It's something that people innately enjoy, the way they enjoy food and clothing and sensuality. It's interesting. Yeah, Helen, you have things to say.
You are talking to a room, some of which are... No, I'm not going to finish that sentence. Helen, did you have a thought?
No, I just was surprised that someone thought backbiting wasn't a pleasure. I mean, it's a totally deplorable pleasure, but there's a certain amount of gossip, saying ill of people. I mean, how do we think Twitter makes its
Billions.
yeah.
Eric.
I was going to say that it's interesting how, like, you know, we sort of assume that some of these characters are similar, but the rhyme scheme is clearly very different for each one. You've got, like, sort of Voluptas rhymes almost every line with each other, sort of, you know, fold, bound, bold, found, and sort of that one. And then you've got Stulticia. I can't pronounce this. Folly, basically, going thought, can, bought, swan, lord, and so on and so forth. You've got that sort of alternating rhyme for the vices, but they do have their different characters as well. I don't know, it's just interesting to think about it.
There is always a slight risk that some of the modernizations may have slightly tweaked how the rhymes land, so beware of being too many absolute points on that. But I think they're right; they are differentiated as characters. There is difference. They are not all monolithic, even though they are. But by and large, people are speaking in speeches rather than in active dialogue. Yet we may see difference. But again, it's the nature of the shouting in a field. There's no point doing other business. It's not that they can't, it's just there's no point doing it because it won't work. We're back to talking about shouting in the street in Edinburgh. Unsupported outside theatre is incredibly hard to pull off. Anyway, we will rejoin. We were just talking about the Good Angel. The Good Angel returns, or in fact has never left, actually. It's probably just wandering around. Because, of course, on some level, the Good Angel wants to start from a position of, come on, humanity, turn it around. You don't need these people before you go and get the big guns. I think that's probably where Good Angel is. Let's see what Good Angel, Bad Angel, and all those reprobates say next.
Alas, Jesu, gentle justice, whither may man's good angel wend? Now shall careful covetise mankind truly all shend. His seely ghost may sore agrise, backbiting bringeth him in bitter bond. Worldly wits ye are not wise, your lovely life amiss ye spend, and that shall ye sore smart. Parks, ponds, and many pens, they seem to you sweeter than sense, but God's service nin his commandments standeth you not at heart.
Yeah, when the fox preacheth, keep well your geese. He speaketh as it were a holy pope. Go, fellow, and pike off those lies that creep there upon thy cope. Thy part is played all at the dice. Thou shalt have here, as I hope. Till mankind falleth to Poddy's prize, covetise shall him grip and grope. Till some shame him shend, till man he bedieth in death's dow, he saith never he hath enow. Therefore, good boy, come blow at my nether end.
Sir Covetees, God save thee, thy pence and thy pounds all. I, backbiter, thine own knave, have brought mankind unto thine hall. The world bad thou shouldst him have, and feffen him whatso befall. In green grass, till he be grave, put him in thy precious pall. Covetees, it were ill ruth. While he walketh in the worldly, would I, backbiter, am I with him bold, hold. Lust and folly, those barons bold, to him hath plight his truth.
Ow, mankind, blessed mote thou be. I have loved thee, dear Worsley, many a day, and so I wot well that thou dost me. Come up and see my rich array. It were a great point of pity, but covetise were to thy pay. Sit up right here in this sea. I shall thee leer of worlds lay, that fadeth as a flood. With good enow I shall thee store, and yet our game is but law. But thou covest mickle more. then ever shall do thee good. Thou must give thee to simony, extortion, and false assize. Help no man, but thou have why. Pay not thy servant here service. Thy neighbours look thou destroy. Tithe not on none wise. Hear no beggar though he cry. And then shalt thou full soon rise. And when thou usest merchandise, look that thou be subtle of sleight. And also swear or by deceit. Buy and sell by false weight, for that is kind covetise. Be not aghast of the great curse, this lovely life may long last. By the penny on thy purse, let him cursen and done here best. What, devil of hell, art thou the worst, though thou breakest God's hest? Do after me, I am thy nurse. Always glad gadir, and have none rest. In winning be all thy work, to poor men take none intent, for that thou haste long time hence, in little time it may be spent. Thus saith Caton, the great clerk, labitur exequo quod partum tempore longo.
Avarice, well thou speed, of worldly wit thou canst ewice. Thou wouldest not I had need, and shouldest be wroth if I fared amiss. I shall never beggar bead, meat neen drink by heaven bliss. Rather, ere I should him clothe or feed, he should starve and stink wis. Covetous, as thou wilt I will do, whereso that I fare by fen or flood. I make a vow by God's blood, of mankind getteth no man no good, but if he sing, see Dedero.
Mankind, that was well sung. Certes, now thou canst some skill. Blessed be thy true tongue. In this bower thou shalt bide and bill. More sins I would thou underfong. With covetise thee fest I will, and then some pride I would sprong. High in thy heart to hold an hill, and abiden in thy body. Here I fest thee in mine heaven endow, with gold and silver light as leaven. The deadly sins, all seven, I shall do coming in high. Pride, wrath, and envy, come forth the devil's children three. Lechery, sloth, and gluttony, to man's flesh ye are fiends free. Driveth down over dales dry, best now bliss as any be. Over hill and holt ye who you high, to come to mankind and to me. Throw your doughty dens, as dukes doughty ye you dress. When ye six be come, I guess, then be we seven and no less of the deadly sins.
Wonder high houts on hill heard I hout, covetous crying his carping I ken. Some lord or some lurden layly shall lout, to be pith with pearls of my proud pen. Born am I to braggan and busken about, rapely and readily on rout for to ren. By down dales nor dens no duke I doubt, also fast for to fog by floods and by fen. I roar when I rise, Sir Belial bright of blee. To you I recommend me. Have good day, my father free, for I go to covetise.
When covetise cried and carped of care, then must I, wad wretch, walken and wend, high over Holtz's hound after hare, if I let and were the last he should me sore shend. I busk my bold bastion by banks full bare. Some boy shall be beaten and brought under ban, when wrath shall him weaken, and waiten his wear. Forlorn shall be all for lusty lakes in land, as a lither page. Sir Belial, black and blue, have good day. Now I go for to fell thy foe with wicked wage.
When wrath ginneth walk in any wide wones, envy fleet as a fox and followeth on fast. When thou sterriest or starriest or stumble upon stones, I leap as a lion, me is loath to be last. Yea, I breed bitter bales in body and in bones, I freet mine heart and in care I me cast. Go we to covetise, all three at once, with our grisly gear a groam for to gast. This day shall he die, Beelzebub now have good day, for we will wenden in good array, all three in fair, as I thee say, pride, wrath, and envy.
Farewell now, children fair to find. Do now well your old ouse. When ye come to mankind, make him wroth and envious, liveth not lightly under Lynn. To his soul breweth a bitter juice. When he is dead, I shall him bind in hell, as cat doth the mouse. Now bust you forth on breed, I may be blithe as any bee. For mankind in every country is ruled by my children three, envy, wrath, and pride.
A groom gone greeden gaily on ground, of me gay glutton gan all his gale. I stamp and I start and stint upon stound, to a staunch death I stacker and stale. What boys with her bells and my bonds been bound, both her back and her blood I brew all to bale. I feast folks to feast till her flesh found, when some on drinking a draught, they drop it in a dale. In me is her mind, man's flourishing flesh, fair, frail, and fresh. I rape to rule in a race to cloy in my kind.
In man's kith I cast me a castle to keep. I, lechery, with liking am loved in each a land. With my succourless of sweetness I sit and I sleep. Many birdies I bring to my bitter bond. In woe and in rake wicked wits shall weep, that in my woeless wild will not outwend. When mankind is casten under clouds to creep, then those ledrons for her liking I shall all to shend, truly to tell. So flesh, now I wend with lust in my lend, to catch in mankind to the devil of hell.
Yea, what sayest thou of Sir Sloth with my sour sight? Mankind loveth me well, Iwis, as I wend. Men of religion I rule in my right. Let God's service the sooth may be. I let God's service the sooth may be seen. In bed I breed brothel with my beardis bright. Lords, ladies, and letteroons of my lore lean. Mickle of mankind in my cloaks shall be night, till death driveth him down in Dale's bedeen. We may none longer abide, Sir Flesh, comely king. In thee is our breeding. Give us now thy blessing, for covetise hath cried.
Gluttony and sloth, farewell in fear. Lovely in land is now your less, and lechery, my daughter so dear, dapperly ye dress, so you deign on deaths. All three my blessing ye shall have here. Goeth now forth, and give ye no force. It is no need you for to leer, to catch in mankind to a careful close from the bright bliss of heaven. The world, the flesh, and the devil are no great lords, as we well owe, and through mankind we setten and sow the deadly sins 7.
And at this point, from the north and from the south, various deadly sins have been conjured forth to go and find mankind. So we had the parade of the 7 deadly sins, always good fun. Always nice to see them come out for a bit of a dance. Obviously, a more famous example comes in Dr. Faustus later on, and a sort of truncated version of this kind of thing, which just because we only really have it here doesn't mean that it wasn't about in other interpretations and other versions. We can assume that it was a fairly common little parade. That might be stretching things, I don't know. Any thoughts about your various sinsness? Briony?
Just that the language seems to be getting even more fun. Again, I don't know how much of that's us getting more into it, but I think particularly Gula was just phenomenal. The speech, brilliant.
Yeah, gluttony. There's always a lot of fun to be had with gluttony. Just imagine the props. It's it is that sense. We got a decent arse joke as well. It's always nice to have one of those. Basically, kiss my arse thrown in. That's the nice thing about evil people. You can really go to town on some of this stuff and really enjoy the dynamics. Whereas good people, they have to be good. But yeah, and again, we've got that journeying. We've got these people travelling across a space to reach a destination. So this is sort of, and you get that sense from both Flesh and Satan, etc., of them going, bye, have a good journey. Good luck. Help damn his soul. That'd be great. You do that, Helen.
Covetise is one of the sins. Yep. One of the 7 deadlies, covetousness.
Usually, yes.
Yeah. Well, he seems to be the convener, which, I find quite surprising. Is it that he is the prime sin, or
Well, we got 3 sins per other scaffold, and then Covetous has a scaffold of all of his own. So yeah, it seems to be that sort of area. Lois.
Yeah, there seems to be some sort of controversy about which is the chief of the 7 deadly sins. I mean, the point should be, I suppose, that they're all equal, but it's usually either pride or covetousness. And in this version, it's clearly covetousness. I mean, he gets his own scaffold, but there are other versions where pride, I think, is the leader. I think it must depend on, the social situation at the time or the author's particular obsession.
Alan.
Maybe Covetise was the one who wanted the job most.
or paid most for it. Lynn, then Eric.
Just sort of bouncing off of Lois. I find this phenomenon really interesting, how the deadly sins are hierarchized in different works of literature. So I think for Dante, for instance, 100 years before this, pride was a more serious sin because it was about centering the self as opposed to centering God. In Piers Plowman, which is roughly contemporaneous with this and with the Canterbury Tales, there's a little section where it discusses the 7 deadly sins. And gluttony gets a lot of attention in Piers Plowman. Evidently, for that author or in that social context, eating more than your share was very socially harmful. And so that was something that the author was really concerned about. So this is just something that's really interesting to me in certain contexts where you are, my theory is Dante writing in an urban situation, in an environment of plenty, he can be more sort of spiritual. Pride is important, but in an environment of scarcity, covetousness or gluttony, having more than your share of food or material resources, is the more serious, or at least the more socially harmful sin.
Eric, then Lois, and then we'll move on.
I was going to be even simpler and just say that, because it's written as Avaricia, or, depending on the Latin, then maybe it's alphabetical.
Lois.
Yeah, I think I mean, I think the reason for making pride the chief sin is that, I mean, biblically, the various passages that were sort of put together to give the idea of the fall of Lucifer tend to be about pride. I mean, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? And I think thou hast said, I will set my throne up. I mean, it's all about that was the sin that made the angels fall. So it's understandable, but you can also see covetize, particularly, I think there's so much emphasis on giving to the poor. And that's the thing about covetousness. Obviously, it's hoarding things and not giving charity. So I think that may have been actually a worse problem in this period.
Yes, because we do have that telling bit where the encouragement and humanity taking on board very much the idea of, oh yeah, well, if I see any poor people, I won't give them anything. Let them starve. That'll be fine. Yeah. It's quite extreme the way it talks about that. Anyway, we have a little sectionette left to do as the sins assemble. The sins assemble, and they are going to now go to humanity, to mankind, and we'll basically see them, I think, seal the deal before we close for this session.
What is thy will, Sir Covetize? Why hast thou after us sent? When thou cradest, we gan arise, and come to thee now par assent. Our love is on thee lent. I, pride, wrath, and envy, glutton and sloth and lechery, we are come all six for thy cry, to be at thy commandment.
Welcome be ye, brethren all, and my sister, sweet lechery. Wit ye why I gan to call? For ye must help me help, and that in high. Mankind is now come to mine hall, with me to dwell by downs dry. Therefore ye must, whatso befall, feffen him with your folly, and ill ye done him wrong. For when mankind is kendly covetous, he is proud, wrathful, and envious, gluttons, slaw, and lecherous. They are other while among, thus every sin tilleth in the other, and maketh mankind to be a fool. We seven, fallen on Aphodia, mankind to chase, to pining stole. Therefore, pride, good brother, and brethren all, take ye your toll. Let each of us take at other, and set mankind on a stumbling stole, while he is here on live. Let us lull in him in our lust, till he be driven to damning dust. Cold care shall be his crust, to death when he shall drive.
In glee and game I shall grow glad. Mankind, take good heed, and do as covetous thee bad. Take me in thine heart, precious pride. Look thou not be overlaid, let no bachelor thee misbead. Do thee be doubted and dread, beat boys till they bleed. Cast him in careful kets, friend, father, and mother dear. Bow him not in none manner, and hold no manner man thy peer. And use these new jets. Look thou blow mickle boast, with long krakows on thy shoes. Jag thy clothes in every cost, and ill men shall let thee butter goes. It is thus, man, well thou wast, therefore do as no man does, and every man set at a thost, and of thyself make great ross. Now see thyself on every side. Every man thou shalt shend and shelf, and hold no man better than thyself, till death's dint thy body delf. Put wholly thine heart in pride.
Pride, by Jesu, thou sayest well. Whoso suffer is overled all day. While I rest on my running wheel, I shall not suffer, if that I may. Much mirth at meat and mell I love right well, and rich array. Truly I think, in every cell, on ground to be great gay, and of myself to take good guard. Mickle mirth thou wilt me make, Lord Lich to leave, by land and lake. Mine heart wholly to thee I take, and to thine own award.
In thy bower to abide, I come to dwell by thy side.
Mankind and pride shall dwell together every tide.
Be also wroth as thou wert wood. Make thee be dread by Dale's Dern. Whoso thee wrath by fen or flood, thou be avenged ern. Be ready to spill man's blood. Look thou him fear by field's fern. Oh, alway man be full of mood. My loathly laws look thou learn. I read for anything. Anon take vengeance, man. I read, and then shall no man thee overlead. But of thee they shall have dread, and bow to thy bidding.
Wrath, for thy counsel hend. Have thou God's blessing in mine. What caitiff of all my kend will not bow, he shall abeen. With mine vengeance I shall him shend, and reckon me by God's eyne. Rather, or I should bow or bend, I should be staked as a swine with a loathly lance. Be it early or late, whoso make with me debate, I shall him hitten on the pate, and taken anon vengeance.
With my ruly rother I come to thee, mankind, my brother.
Wrath, thy fair father, maketh each man to be venged on other.
Envy with wrath must drive to haunt mankind also. When any of thy neighbours will thrive, look thou have envy thereto. On the high name I charge thee believe, backbite him whoso thou do. Kill him anon without a knife, and speak him some shame where thou go, by dale or downs dry. Speak thy neighbour mickle shame, put on him some false fame. Look thou undo his noble name, with me that am envy.
Envy, thou art both good and hend, and shalt be of my counsel chief. Thy counsel is known through mankind, for ilk man calleth other whore and thief. Envy, thou art rote and rind, through this world of mickle mischief. In bitter bales I shall him bind, that to thee putteth any reprieve. Come up to me above, for more envy than is now reigning was never sith Christ was king. Come up, envy, my dear darling, that thou hast mankind's love.
I climb for this croft with mankind to sit in on loft.
Come, sit here soft, for in abbeys thou dwellest full oft.
In gay gluttony a game thou begin, ordain thee meat and drinks good. Look that no treasure thou part a twain, but thee fief and feed with all kind food. With fasting shall man never heaven win. These great fasters, I hold them wood. Though thou eat and drink, it is no sin. Fast no day, I read, by the rood. Thou chide those fasting churls. Look, thou have spices of good odor to fief and feed thy fleshly flower. And then mayest thou builten in thy bower and serven gay girls.
Ah, gluttony, well I thee greet. Sooth and sad it is thy saw. I am no day well by sty nor street, till I have well filled my maw. Fasting is felled under feet, though I never fast, I nay wreak and have. He served of naught by the rood I let, but to do a man's guts to gnaw. To fast I will not fond, I shall not spare, so have I rest. To have a morsel of the best, the longer shall my life mow lest, with great liking in land.
By banks on breed, other while to spew thee speed.
Will I life lead, with fair food my flesh shall I feed.
Yea, when thy flesh is fair fed, then shall I, lovely lechery, be bobbed with thee in bed. Hereof serve meat and drinks dry. In love thy life shall be led, be a lecher till thou die. Thy knees shall be the better sped, if thou wilt give thee to fleshly folly, till death thee down dreep. Lechery, Since the world began, hath avaunced many a man. Therefore, mankind, my lievely man, in my cunt thou shalt creep.
Ah, lechery, well thee be. Man said in thee is sow. Few men will forsake thee in any country that I know. Spouse breach is a friend right free. Men use that mo then enow. Lechery, come sit be me. Thy banes be full wide eye now. Liking is in thy lend. On nor other I see no wight that will forsake thee day near night. Therefore come up, my bird bright, and rest thee with mankind.
I may sooth sing, mankind is caught in my sling.
For any earthly thing to bed thou must me bring.
Yea, when ye be in bed both, wapped well in worthy weed, then I, sloth, will be wroth, but too breathless I may breed. When the mess bell goeth, lie still, man, and take none heed. Lap thine head then in a cloth, and take a sweat, I thee rede. Church going thou forsake. Lozenges in land I lift, and dismend to mickle unthrift. Penance enjoined men in shrift is undone, and then I make.
Oh, sloth, thou sayest me skill. Men use thee mickle, God it wot. Men love well now to lie still in bed to take a morrow swat. To church ward is not her will. Her beds they think in good and hot. Harry, Joffrey, John, and Gil are laid and logged in a lot with thine untethioned charms. All mankind by the holy rood are now slaw in works good. Come near, therefore, mine fair food, and lull me in thine arms.
I make men, I trow, in God's service to be right slow.
Come up this throw, such men thou shalt find in enow. Mankind I am called by kind, with cursedness and costious knit. In sour sweetness my sith I send, with 7 sins sad beset. Mickle mirth I move in mind, with melody at my mouths met. My proud power shall I not pend, till I be put in pain's pit, to hell hent fro hence. In dale of dole till we are down, we shall be clad in a grey gown. I see no man but they use some of these 7 deadly sins, for commonly it is seldom seen. Whoso now be lecherous, but of other men he shall have disdain, and be proud or covetous. In sin each man is found. There is poor nor rich by land ne lake, that all these 7 will forsake, but with on or other he shall be take, and in her bitter bonds bound.
And so Humanum Genus has been thoroughly ensnared by the 7 deadly sins, and next time we will see the counterattack by the good angel and the various people on side. So any thoughts in the room?
I was very surprised by that rude word.
Well, in the context of the time and its use in the narrative, it is simply a descriptor for a part of the body.
Oh.
First use it's not used as an insult, and it's an important point to negotiate with that. There is that it isn't being used in that fashion. It does pop out rather at one, but that's more our problem than the player's problem.
Yeah, I mean,
Be more elegantly phrased, Robert.
She did have another one actually earlier on in her first speech, Luxuria. She had with lust in my lend. I mean, lend in that context, from what I remember, I always remember the rude words, but I'm fairly certain. I don't know if anyone else can back me up here, but I'm fairly certain lend is also a term, a descriptive term for the same area of the body. So that it's just that lend in that context has fallen out of it's not. We don't think of it as a rude word in contemporary society because we've lost that meaning of the word. But I mean, in the context of this, they were kind of probably on an equal footing.
Sorry, I'm looking down. Helen, then Rachael.
Yeah, we've also got sling.
Yeah.
Mankind is caught in my sling. I felt that there we had another variant.
Yeah, I tried to make that as Barbara Windsor as possible.
I wasn't getting Barbara Windsor, I must admit.
It's the hood.
It's the hoodie. Rachael.
No, I think it's just that it's not just that the word sticks out because of the word that it used, but it's also that I don't that lechery is a woman, that it's the object of like the lechery, as opposed to that, you know, the woman is being like the object of the lechery. Yeah. I don't know. It was like, you know, when the sins are portrayed, it's usually the I don't know, the person who's doing the sin is being portrayed, as opposed to like the objectification of that. But I feel like lechery is like the object that lust is being acted upon, as opposed to the actor of the sin, and that the I don't know, that the sin of lechery is pushed on to women wholly.
Briony, then Lynn.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if I fully got Rachel's point there, because I was just going to say, like, 'cause, yeah, she's definitely on the enacting side of it rather than just the object of it, surely, because she literally says, "Creep up in here." That's quite forward.
The way morality plays gender, these personifications of things, of concepts, is interesting, and is not always linear. It's not always the same gender is or not always applied to different characters and different characteristics. In this sense, it does seem that the humanity is depicted as male, and lechery in this case is depicted as female. And that seems to be the dramatic logic in that sense, and therefore it can be enacted as a literal act within the logic of the time. Lynn, then Rachael again.
But I think Rachel's, what I think she was getting at is valid. Is that in that lust is constructed as female partly because there was sort of a cultural sense that women provoked lust, that somehow we still have that, we still deal with that somehow it's the woman's responsibility to negotiate male passion. It's like either you provoke it or you don't provoke it. Yeah, it's like the kind of "she made me do it." Also in the period, this is, you know, we sort of feel, I think, living in a post-Victorian world, we still have this cultural sense that that women are supposedly innately less passionate than men, and that didn't necessarily obtain in this period. That, you know, women were figured as having desire that needed to be managed.
Rachael, and then Lois.
No, what I was trying to say is just that I'm working off the assumption that I'm probably wrong or whatever, that this is a guy that wrote this, and just that you know, it's kind of like that Eve tempter type of thing that I'm trying to get at with the lechery lust figure. Not that in this context that you know, lechery is not an active participant and whatever, but just that it's, I don't know, that type of objectification of a woman's body, and then calling a woman's body for existing a sin because somebody wants it. Even though in this, it's like they're a more active figure when they're speaking to humanity.
We might get be talking too much about one sin. There are 6 other sins available, which is fine. They're just other thoughts and how they work together as a matrix as well. How do all the sins function rather than focusing on just one? How do they function together is another thought. But these are all valid, good things. Lois, then Helen.
Yes, I think that line about every sin tilleth another, I think it's almost as if each one is pulling the other in, rather like Farmer in the Dell, or, one of those dances where everybody keeps pulling someone else. I mean, one thing leads to another, and the different sins are appropriate to different ages. But I think the human race is always represented by a man, because with that pattern of sin and forgiveness, it's impossible if it's a woman, and that's also why lechery has to be a woman. I mean, the only sin for women is loss of virginity, and that is not, they can repent it, but they can't really ever be restored in the same way that these male protagonists can be when they repent. I mean, that's just the nature of the whole attitude to virginity.
And we'll get into a whole other area of how these parts are gendered when we get to more of the good people next time. Helen.
Yeah, I was going to say what Lois said about the very interesting way in which one sin leads to another. Mm. You're in bed because you're lecherous, but you stay there because of sloth, was the last example. Mm-hmm. But I think that Rachael is making an extremely about it. If avarice was being treated in the same way as lechery, then avarice wouldn't be avarice but money. Because it would be money, it would be the object of the desire. Yeah. So, and I must say, it hadn't occurred to me. I mean, I noted that it was female, but I'm grateful to Rachael for pointing it out. Mm.
I don't have time to go round the whole room for any final thoughts. So if you have final thoughts, wave at me. This is your last chance before tomorrow. Eric.
I was just going to say that it's interesting that lust and liking are sort of partnered with folly rather than with lechery, whereas usually it's like lust and lechery go together, at least in other plays that we've seen. Like nature in the play Nature. It was sort of they were paired that way.
Other final thoughts about the play overall so far? Obviously, it's big event theatre. It's treating a medieval world. It's designed to be declaimed at a distance. Any thoughts about that or anything else? Helen.
Where's the Castle of Perseverance?
It's in the centre.
Why has nobody noticed it yet?
Well, it doesn't. It's not really featured particularly. It may have been used. I'm not 100% certain where humanity comes from. I know certainly, obviously, humanity will end up in the Castle of Perseverance later on. So we've got Flesh to the south, Satan to the north. We have the world to the west. In theory, we have God to the east. And to the northeast, we have Covetous. And all the rest of the space is in play. And we don't know whether the audience is arranged around this circle or whether they're just out amongst, the scaffolds on the compass points and just mingling about and being moved left, right and centre. And how it really functions. There are competing theories as to how it works. And that's one of the reasons I've not been telling too much detail about that sketch, because it's sort of unhelpful as well as helpful. But it does seem to be pulling the audience around a lot. And certainly, if not literally, then in terms of its focus of attention as to where you're supposed to be looking. But yes, we'll get more into that stuff over the next 2 sessions. I will feed more in. The image is available online if you want to see the sketch in the original manuscript. It is available. It's a picture of a turret with a circle around it. That's about it, really. There's some notes. Eric.
I was just wondering how much, because we've been like while we were doing Mundus at Infants and this one, Castle of Perseverance, we were talking about how we can compare them, but I don't know if we can, because like the structure is completely different. It's just like, I mean, the way it's set up, and sort of all the shenanigans that go on are between sort of manhood and conscience in Mundus at Infants, whereas in this one, we haven't really. Well, I mean, we've reached the sort of point of no return, so to speak, but we haven't really sort of had any. Well, I mean, obviously the good characters are going to come on later, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mundus at Infants is a short morality play. It's about an hour long, and it's designed for about 2-3 people. You could perform it, and it's a chamber piece, and I mean, structurally it's the same. We've got someone is born, they grow older, and they are tempted towards sin, and that's sort of where we've got here. In that play, they're tempted towards sin by effectively the world saying, go out, here are some people you should meet. There's the kings. There are 7 kings called Sloth, Pride, etc. You don't meet the 7 deadly sins. They are off-stage characters that he swears allegiance to. Whereas here you physically get all of that. And next time in Castle we will be encountering the countercharge, the confession. Conscience, rather, says in Mundus. Those of you in the room who haven't watched the various sessions we've done on Mundus at Infants, we'll be doing a second look at that in a couple of weeks' time. Initial work on that already exists on the YouTube channel and on the podcast. With such egregious plugging for things there, any final thoughts from the room before I close the session? I want to leap in. No. Going. So that's our first session, probably our longest, I think, amount of text from Castle of Perseverance. Hopefully, also now that we've keyed into the language, that next time we'll pick up a sense of momentum with it next time, as the battle commences. Yes, next time we get fighting, as the good stage a comeback. So until next time, thanks to all the wonderful readers in the room. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.